Has Gojo Satoru returned? Or is Gege pulling the biggest troll of the year? Until we find out what that one-eyed cat is cooking, let's look at some of the best Gojo revival theories and rank them on a scale of absolutely headcanon to legitimately gonna happen. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all next week since there won't be a break. The Lotus Flower Theory. So one of the biggest and also simplest theories when it comes to Gojo's revival is the symbolism of the lotus flower that has frequently been used since chapter 236. Not only is it present in the chapter of Gojo's death, it has appeared multiple times in other potentially related media. The lotus flower is a common symbolism in many cultures and religions for rebirth, signifying one's conquering of adversity and their resilient strength, something that a lot of Gojo believers have held on to from the very beginning, since it literally appears in the same chapter that Gojo dies. Granted, this could just be the flower Gege chose to depict when Geto and Gojo were specifically discussing flowers, but there's no such thing as a coincidence. Now, this isn't so much a theory, as it would be a direct foreshadowing if Gojo comes back, so I can really only rank this at a B right now. If Gojo is back, guaranteed S, front and center. Gege was telling us Gojo isn't dead, but in the longest week between JJK chapters ever, we have to judge accordingly. Everyone went south, Gojo went north theory. This is another ground zero prediction that was born from chapter 236 directly, and it spawns from the weird nature of Gojo's quote-unquote death. The chapter itself is a jarring start, going from Gojo's supposed win to Gojo supposedly in the afterlife greeted by Geto and all his former hidden inventory friends. The scenery of an airport depicts an airplane about to take off, and as Gojo talks with his friends, Nanami says a quote that many people have picked apart to no end. If you want to start anew, go north. If you want to return to your old self, go south. Nanami and Heibara, two characters who accepted their death and left the future in the hands of the next generation, face opposite to Gojo here, implying to the audience that as they all chose to go south, Gojo is looking north to become something new entirely and save his students, gaining some new enlightenment or awakening, similar to his hidden inventory moment. A lot of people also find this scene a little abnormal, thinking it's weird Gojo is saying bye to people in the afterlife if he himself is supposed to be joining them, the airplane not yet taking off, or at least everyone getting on at the end but Gojo. Where do we rank this theory? A big fat F. Garbage. Not only does this theory not make any sense at all, the source material itself directly contradicts it. For starters, most of the theory rests on Nanami implying that Gojo is selfish and wouldn't accept death. Gojo will go north because he knows his students can't handle Sukuna. But not only is that really an insult to his students, Nanami directly says, "This was an end worthy of you. I won't accept it, but I can sympathize." Meaning that Nanami claims this is Gojo's end. And although he doesn't approve of Gojo selfishly using Jujutsu to try and enjoy one last fight with the King of Curses, it was a very Gojo way to go out. Also, Geto is looking north with Gojo. Is Geto also going to become something new? Also, none of the characters are saying goodbye either. The sequence comes off very much more so like Gojo's friends meeting him at the pearly gates, as opposed to them paying Gojo a quick visit. Gojo even wishes seeing everyone isn't his imagination, acknowledging that this really is the end. A lot of people also imply Gojo wouldn't just leave his students behind, despite saying himself in this chapter he's done and Shoko's gonna have to tell Megumi about Toji now. Gojo also talks to Principal Yaga, happy that all of him and his friends can die without regrets, leaving it up to the future generation, which in my opinion is what the whole going north and south thing is supposed to be interpreted as, rather than Gojo not trusting his students to handle things without him. I think out of all Gojo revival theories, this is the worst, to be completely honest, and I know a lot of people are going to be mad at me for that, but trust me, I'm not going to be as harsh on the other theories by any means. You should have went for the head theory. Now, the Thanos theory. While interesting and does have more merit than the go north theory, I wouldn't really place this much higher than like a C, maybe even D. The reason for this is, although we do have direct confirmation Gojo survived a lethal blow before because his head was not completely destroyed, this theory also relies pretty heavily on the fact that Sukuna, the pinnacle of Jujutsu sorcery and a warmongering king of curses that was known for slaughtering a large amount of sorcerers in the Heian era, is not aware of the fact that strong people might come back from the dead if you don't take out their brain. Even Kashimo Hajime, a sorcerer from the Edo period, implies having knowledge of the fact that that cursed energy originates in the stomach and is manipulated and controlled by the brain. By taking out one of these two major control centers, a sorcerer can have their regeneration abilities terminated. And after the world bisecting cleave, Gojo is cut down the middle entirely, through the area where Gojo's stomach should be. While Hikari, who canonically is confirmed to have better regeneration than both Sukuna and Gojo, is only barely able to survive a lethal blow to one of these areas, it's possible any reverse curse technique that would have saved Gojo would have had to have been applied immediately upon the attack to stop it from killing Gojo entirely. When Gojo was killed by Toji, his brain was simply punctured, but not completely destroyed. Gojo was then cut down the middle and left to bleed out, leaving most of his major organs intact and allowing for the insane scenario of quote-unquote revival. Again, Gojo never died in this instance. He was brought to the brink of death and at the last moment unlocked the healing potential to recover himself and stop from bleeding out. When it comes to Sukuna, Gojo's completely cut in half. Gojo's bottom half, either holding all of his stomach or a partial portion of it, is not in connection with Gojo's brain in order to control the cursed energy. The brain, although still together, can't direct reverse curse technique with no cursed energy source from the stomach. If we are to assume this was an attack Gojo could quote-unquote honored one scenario revive from, like with Toji, I think the healing would have had to have been done immediately before the killing blow severed Gojo entirely, similar to how Hikari had to heal Kachimo's lightning bolt before his brain was exploded. Death can be avoided, but one cannot revive after death, which in my opinion is often confused to be what people think Gojo did in Hidden Inventory. While again, I don't believe thinking Gojo can still heal or control his top half thanks to his special 6 eyes advantage and having his brain still intact is out of left field, but maybe if he was taking to Shoko fast enough, she could have performed miracles. Either way, C tier. The Binding Vow theory. I would happily place this in B tier. I think some of the problems I had with the previous theory do exist in this one as well, but I would be much more happier with this as an option. This is the theory that Gojo, in exchange for one or potentially even both of his 6 eyes, was able to survive and slowly recover his body over time from the death. We have seen Sukuna throughout the Shinjuku Showdown employ multiple different binding vows in order to overcome the protagonist's cast plans. And based on the Gojo vs Sukuna fight and how both of them were just casually swapping domain conditions on the fly, it's not out of left field to assume Gojo is also quite a binding vow merchant himself. I think this has a little bit more backbone than the general reverse curse technique heal theory, because instead of implying Gojo can just heal himself from a lethal wound, this theory says that Gojo saved himself from the end by giving up 2 of the most important things to him and his legacy. By giving up one or both of the 6 eyes, Gojo was able to hold on to life long enough to recover after a brief period of time, or again was brought to Shoko, and because he was still hanging on to life, she was able to reverse curse technique and regenerate Gojo's body. There have been multiple instances throughout the anime, manga volumes, and just general media appearances for Jujutsu Kaisen in general that have made people think Gojo would lose one of the 6 eyes, and there's even recent imagery to potentially imply that. With Binding Vows really stepping up their appearances, I would be more than happy to accept this Gojo revival. Now, before we get into my favorite and final theory, here are a couple quick honorable mentions that we can toss on the scale right quick. 1. Ino's using his seance technique similar to Granny Ogami, turning someone into Gojo for the last part of this fight. B tier. 2. Yuta has copied Kenjaku's brain hop ability to move to Gojo's body now that his is irreparable. C tier. 3. Kenjaku has actually taken Gojo as a vessel and is now becoming the final villain again. And as much as I miss Kenjaku, this is D tier. 4. Takaba has returned and revived Gojo because he thought it would be funny. S tier. I support everything Takaba does, best character in the series, no question. And now for my personal favorite, the 3 soul revival theory. And I think it's the best one out of everything. One of the biggest plot points slowly building in the background is the concept of Panda's self-sustaining cursed corpse body. Principal Yaga was imprisoned on the basis of potentially being able to create life on his own. While important in the sense that it explains how a being like Panda is able to exist, the secret behind it has caused Yaga's death and also Gakukanji's survival, considering he kept the secret after Yaga's passing, giving Gojo the justification to leave Gakukanji alive after slaughtering all the higher-ups. This could just be a red herring, or again, just a long-winded explanation for Panda in a series that often leaves a lot up to interpretation. But all of this could actually awaken the possibility of revival through Jujutsu. Principal Yaga is able to essentially recreate Kusakabe's sister's son through his soul data, and having 3 different spirits connect with each other, eventually creating a self-sustaining existence that embodies the personality inserted into it. Could all of this have created the perfect blueprint for Shoko and Gakukanji to work together, using either the souls of the people incapacitated like Higuruma, Kusakabe, and Kashimo, or just volunteers to imprint upon Gojo's corpse? And by using Gojo's soul data, thanks to Yuki and Yaga's research, you potentially have a way right there to rebirth Satoru Gojo. I've always wondered how this plot point would come back into the series. This is 110% my personal favorite out of all the theories we've talked about today. A tier. Now, despite everything, we're just gonna have to wait and see what happens next week. You guys know I've been a subscriber to the Gojo is definitely dead theory. It's no surprise here, so I do have to preface, this could just be a ghost of Gojo coming from some kind of illusionary technique. Or, just as valid as the Gojo revival, Yuji memory manipulation domain expansion. But, of course, we can always look until we get to the end of the series to find a reason for Gojo to potentially come back. I think after even Jujutsu Kaisen ends, there will exist theories for why Gojo could revive. But no matter what happens, just know I love Jujutsu Kaisen and you, and I'm not going anywhere. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys next week when we find out what the hell is going on. Hit that like button, subscribe, watch an end screen video if you want to continue your binge, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.